listen to this. Celtic is absolutely buzzing with drama just now. We've got Chris Sutton saying Wilfried Nancy would be foolish not to take Martin O'Neill up on his offer. We've got O'Neill himself praising Brendan Rodgers and talking about the dream for all of us. And to top it all off, Alan Brazil claiming Dermot Desmond is willing to sell Celtic if the right price comes. 3 massive stories. Stick with me right to the end. We have 6 news a day to keep you updated with the mighty Celtic. Hit that subscribe button and be part of it. Mate, let me bring you right into this one because it's the kind of story that makes every Celtic heart thump like a drum on a European night. I'm standing here thinking about how close we are to a brand new era with Wilfried Nancy practically packing his suitcase for Glasgow, and yet all anyone can talk about is one thing. Chris Sutton reckons the man would be absolutely foolish not to take Martin O'Neill up on his offer to keep helping behind the scenes. And honestly, you know Sutton talks straight, like a proper big lad who never hides his feelings, but this time he's spot on. O'Neill has stormed back into paradise like someone plugged directly into the lights above the Lisbon Lions stand, firing the squad up and giving them belief again. Just look at what he's done. 5 wins from 6, a massive European victory, away to Feyenoord, the first one on the road in years, and a lift in confidence you can feel from Parkhead all the way to the rain-soaked pavements of Sucky Hall Street. He's steadied the club, quietened the noise, and even made the Azuis whinge again, which is always a wee bonus. The man has brought calm, humour, standards, and that unmistakable sense of what Celtic actually stands for. When someone like that offers to share his insight, you don't brush it aside. You sit down, listen, and take the wisdom from a giant who's been there and done it in green and white. But Sutton also pointed out something that every Celtic fan secretly feels. This good run creates a bit of a shadow for Nancy. Imagine walking in and replacing a legend who has just revived the place, beaten Rangers, set up a cup final, cut the gap at the top, and put Europe back on the map. It's like taking over from someone who's just played the perfect tune on the pipes and now you're expected to keep the same energy. At the same time, though, it gives Nancy the best possible starting point. O'Neill didn't just stabilize things, he set the foundations for proper success. He's walking into Easter Road for what might be his final match, and you can tell he's thinking entirely about the club, not himself. That's what makes him one of the greats. If this really is O'Neill's last act, he leaves with his legacy not just intact but strengthened. He came in when the club felt fractured and walked out with unity, belief, and momentum. That deserves every bit of praise coming his way. Now, let me ask you something that's going to get you thinking. Should Nancy embrace the path O'Neill has laid out, or should he tear things up and impose his own identity, even if it risks unsettling everything we've just rebuilt? Hit that subscribe button. Lads, let's G it loudy till we hit 1,500 mad Celtic dafts. Let me bring you right into this one, because what Martin O'Neill said after that massive 3-1 win in Rotterdam has really summed up the mood around Celtic right now. You can feel it, like that buzz you get walking up to paradise on a big European night when the whole place hums even before the lights come on. O'Neill stood there speaking with that calm authority only he has, and he said something that hit every Celtic fan right in the chest. That's the dream for all of us again. And he wasn't talking about just winning football matches. He was talking about Celtic being Celtic again. Unity, identity, purpose. The whole thing that makes this club different from anyone else, especially that lot across the river who spend more time whining than winning. He also took a moment to praise Brendan Rodgers, and you could sense it wasn't just courtesy. He knows the pressures that come with that role, the expectations, the demands, the noise, and O'Neill's been around long enough to recognize someone putting the shoulder in for the cause, even when the club around him feels more split than the weather on Sucky Hall Street. The support is buzzing off this European result, but you and I both know there's still a real divide over the board. Some folk are angrier than the Rangers dressing room after another refereeing decision. doesn't go their way. O'Neill walked straight into that mess 8 days ago at the AGM, and you could tell he was shocked by the hostility in the air. But here's the magic of the man. He didn't moan, he didn't sulk, he didn't point fingers, he lifted the place. You see it in the squad, in the way Cal Mack has that fire back in his eyes, in the way the players are pressing with real belief, in the way every goal feels like a message that Celtic are rising again. He handed us a cup final. He chopped 7 points off Hearts' lead like it was nothing more than a piece of wet cardboard in the Glasgow rain. And best of all, he delivered something we've been desperate for, an away win in Europe against a proper opponent. That's not just a result, that's a statement. He didn't fix the boardroom, he didn't heal every divide, but he reminded everyone, players, staff, fan, that Celtic's dream is still alive. And when a man like O'Neill says it, you believe it because he's lived it. Now here's what I want you to think about, and this is where it might sting some folk. Has the Celtic board earned the right to enjoy this new wave of positivity, or are they simply riding the coattails of O'Neill's brilliance without fixing any of the deeper issues holding the club back? Hit that subscribe button, lads. Let's G it loudly till we hit 1,500 mad Celtic daffs. Let me tell you, this one has sent shockwaves through every corner of Celtic chat, from the pub banter in the East End right up to the boardroom whispers. Word coming out through Alan Brazil, of all people, is that Dermot Desmond might actually sell Celtic if the right price lands on his desk. Now, you know as well as I do, this is the kind of rumor that gets folk either dreaming of a new future or pacing around like they've just seen Rangers bottle another cup final. Desmond's been in the big chair since 1999, stepping in after Fergus McCann and steering the club through decades of trophies, managers, dramas, rebuilds, and the usual comedy show happening across the river. But he's also taken his fair share of stick, hoarding cash, not pushing Europe hard enough, leaving the club stuck between eras rather than building something bold. Brazil claims Desmond's getting older. He's got more money than the rainwater flowing down Sucky Hall Street, and he might simply be ready to step off. And you know what? It fits the mood around the place. There's been tension with sections of the support for years, boiling over at the AGM, where his own son called parts of the Celtic support bullies and anti-establishment. Seriously, the language was more dramatic than a Rangers fan board meltdown after a penalty shout doesn't go their way. Folk always assumed Ross Desmond would slide right into his father's role someday. But if Brazil's heard otherwise, then things behind the scenes might be shifting quicker than defenders when Dyson starts pressing. Here's what really caught my attention. Brazil says Desmond was the one who convinced Martin O'Neill to return, and that makes sense. Only someone with real pull could get a legend to walk straight back into the fire during a moment of chaos. And maybe that tells you everything. If Desmond really is preparing his exit, he'll want the club stable, successful, and with a proper manager lined up before bowing out. But you sitting there listening to this, ask yourself, would a sale fix the issues dividing the club right now, or would it simply drag Celtic into another period of uncertainty when we should be pushing forward? Because that's the fear. You don't build a club like this on guesswork. You build it with the spirit of Jock Stein, with the unity O'Neill keeps preaching, with the passion Cal Mack shows every weekend. And here's the big one I want you to chew on and don't hold back. If Desmond truly puts Celtic up for sale, would the club finally move into a modern era of ambition, or could we end up with an owner who understands Celtic as badly as Rangers understand how to win consistently? Hit that subscribe button, lads. Let's G it loudly till we hit 1,500 mad Celtic dafts.